It's Friday the 17th of June. This is the Climate Alarm Clock. This week's main story, extreme weather in Europe and the US. And also coming up on this week's show, we find out about Not Here, Not Anywhere's campaign to keep Ireland LNG free. We chat about the work of An Taisce with Dr. Elaine McGough. And we learn about greenwashing from Tom Spencer. Hello and welcome to the Climate Alarm Clock, your weekly Irish climate news podcast. I'm Darragh, and we have made it to the season 2 finale. We are delighted with the work we've put into the project in the last 10 months. A team of dedicated volunteers have put out a climate news podcast in 22 of the past 37 weeks, with excellent contributions from our collaborators and the many experts and activists we have interviewed. And if we can do it, why can't RTE and all the other media outlets in Ireland?
Very good question.
We have some brilliant interviews to come in this week's episode, but now, for the last time this season, it's time for our news roundup, and I am joined by Anna Pringle and Ciara Daly. Anna, how are you keeping?
I'm just great, Darragh. Congratulations on getting us this far. Thanks for your leadership in making the podcast happen.
Thank you.
And Ciara's back.
And Ciara, how are you doing?
I'm good. Much like climate change is chasing us, COVID has finally caught me, but I'm in good spirits. Happy to be back with my two pals today discussing the end of the world. Woo!
Yeah, it's great to have you back. Great to have you back,
And
Ciara.
sorry you're sick, Ciara.
It's okay. I'll get through it, I'm sure. With the company of you two fantastic fellows.
How has your experience been of the whole season, Ciara?
It's been interesting, to say the least. I feel like there was a few weeks there where I had a good run where I was getting really engrossed in it. And then the last couple of weeks with being off, I've had a bit of a break. So I feel like I'm coming back in a little bit less assured of myself that I should be involved in the conversation. But I think I have an awareness that that's actually something I'm going to go through for the rest of my life, and that I have to just get used to that and get involved and get talking, and not just get talking, get actually bloody doing something.
Great stuff.
That's quite deep to start us off, Ciara. Yep. That's good.
That's all I have to contribute after that.
Remember when
silent.
she used to talk about Real Housewives and keep it light, Anna? Remember that?
Oh, my moment will come yet.
So we'll jump into our news roundup, and we're basically just looking at extreme weather that we're seeing around the world, in particular in the US and Europe. And Anna, you're going to start off by telling us about the Arctic.
Yes, Real Housewives of the Barents Sea region in the Arctic. Now, new data has been released that is showing what they're calling extraordinary rates of global heating in the Arctic, up to 7 times faster than the global average. This is happening in the North Barents Sea, and the challenges with this are that not only is the temperature going up there, but that has a massive effect and triggers increases in extreme weather in North America, in Europe, and Asia. And it's what researchers are saying is that it's an early warning of what could happen across the rest of the Arctic, and also of the implications for everywhere, basically.
So not good news.
No, it's now the North Barents Sea and the islands there are now the fastest warming place known on Earth.
Fastest warming? Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So this is looking at data over the last couple of decades, and it's showing that temperatures are going up there by 2.7 degrees per decade. 2.7 degrees Celsius per decade.
Yeah, and what the researchers are saying is that the feedback of that melting sea ice is higher than has been previously shown. And
what do you mean by the feedback?
There are certain sort of feedback loops in the system. So if sea ice is not there to reflect heat back into the atmosphere, then the Earth absorbs more heat.
Okay.
And then it gets hotter, and then there's less sea ice. So it's kind of a vicious circle, if you like. There's less sea ice, there's more heat, there's less sea ice. So eventually they expect that the Arctic will be ice-free in summer, which is a very strange prospect, really. So the scary part from this research is that it's higher than they previously thought. And the study is showing that the best models have been underestimating the rate of warming there.
So, Anna, do you want to then So we're not saying that the weather we're seeing now is directly related to this, but all things are linked in some ways. We're just seeing absolutely crazy weather across the US.
Yeah, like there was a series of unfortunate weather events in the US in the past week. And where to start? There's a heat dome building again with heat waves across basically the whole southern half of the US, which they're used to heat in deep summer, but it's much earlier than usual and hotter than usual.
What do you mean by a heat dome?
A heat dome is it's what happened last year in the Northwest, Pacific Northwest. It's when the heat builds up and it doesn't move. So it sits there for longer than it should. So this is one of the things we're also seeing with what's happening with weather now. Instead of things dissipating in a few days or moving on, it's staying longer than would be normal. So over a third of the US population were urged to stay indoors amid record-breaking heat. So more than 125 million people are under heat alerts.
Wow, that's really insane.
Yeah, that is insane. And you've got cities like Detroit and Chicago and stuff setting up cooling centres. So, and look, I lived in New York in one of the hottest summers on record there at the time, and we used to go to bars because they had air conditioning, because we didn't have air conditioning, or cinemas or whatever. You'd go anywhere you could find air conditioning. But what they're doing now is that these cities are actually having to set up centres with air conditioning to help people stay cool. So they're using public libraries, they're using public facilities to do that, because not everybody, we have a bit of a myth here. We think everybody in the US has air conditioning, but they don't.
Yeah.
And especially, as always, people in poorer areas don't. So they're having to set up municipal responses to help people stay cool.
Wow, that's pretty insane. Imagine not being able to go outside because of the heat. That's where I need to go when I need to like cool off. Not like physically, I mean mentally, when I need to like refresh my mind. I need to go outside, and you don't have that option. That's actually like a huge...
It's dangerous. It's actually dangerous to life to go outside. Yeah, it is a huge privilege. So that's mad.
Yeah, ironically enough, then related to that heat is the case in Texas, where their grid, when they've seen extreme weather in the past years, has been under pressure, and it's actually coping quite well this time around because of the amount of solar and wind on their grid. So despite Texas being pro-oil, they actually have a lot of renewables on their grid, and it's really standing to them in these extreme conditions.
Yeah, and it's the Texas grid has basically shut down at times, and it's because of the demand from air conditioners in Texas when it gets very hot.
Yeah.
So it is great to see. Hopefully they give the credit to the wind and solar, because their grid is in bad shape.
Yeah, and there's water shortages in other parts of the US as well, Anna, is that right?
Yeah, there's major droughts. Well, the Southwest, so where Las Vegas, Phoenix, Nevada, Arizona has been in drought, and California have been in drought conditions for years now, but that drought is just getting more and more extreme. And so now what you're seeing as well is extreme wildfires. That's another of the mad things that are going on in the US at the moment. Extreme wildfires over regions that wouldn't have had them before, or wouldn't have had them this early in the season before. So again, more examples.
Yeah, and
not isolated examples. Like these are obviously all connected to one another.
Then you've got in Salt Lake City. So Salt Lake City, as the name suggests, takes its name from the Great Salt Lake. And they're now saying that the Great Salt Lake is threatened, and not just threatened with getting lower, it's threatened with basically drying up and disappearing. And part of the reason is because you're not getting as much snow in the mountains, it's not getting refilled with fresh water. And then also because the population is growing, because people want to live near there, the population is growing and it's being exploited. So the Great Salt Lake is threatening to dry up.
God, that's also depressing.
I know.
And then the last thing, Anna, that you meant, or last thing related to them when you're talking about snowmelt, is we've seen extreme snowmelt accompanied by rainfall in Yellowstone National Park that has led to unprecedented flooding.
Yeah, exactly. Yellowstone National Park, which is an amazing national park in Montana, and very beautiful and some real wilderness there. But because they've had so much rapid snowmelt and so much rainfall, they've had a runoff that has just washed away parts of the park. I don't know if you saw the video, but there was a video going around of a park ranger's cabin literally getting washed downstream. You're looking at this going, this looks like a little river, but then you realise, no, it's so strong that it's washing a house downstream. So parts of that park will be closed for the rest of the season because there's so much damage done between roads, bridges, mudslides. So the whole northern section of the park is likely to be closed for the rest of the season.
There was up to 3/4 of a foot of water runoff from rainfall and snowmelt, which is similar to the area receiving 2 to 3 months of June precipitation in just 3 days.
Wow.
And so, as well as all those human impacts, Anna, that you've mentioned, like roads and houses being washed away, obviously a national park is a huge hotspot for biodiversity.
Yes.
And biodiversity will have been greatly impacted there, really showing the connections, I think, between the two crises, the dual crises that we're facing at the moment.
Yeah.
Shall we move to Europe? I assume you've heard about the extreme hot weather in Spain and France, Ciara, have you?
Yeah, of course. I'm always looking up bad news stories. Don't you know me?
So cheer us up about Europe then, Darragh.
Well, it's much of the same, really, Anna. That we're just seeing extreme heat in France and Spain in particular, and Spain has already had an extremely hot May, and now it's unseasonably hot for June as well. There were temperatures of up to nearly 43 degrees on Tuesday, and there's some talk that temperatures might hit up to 50 degrees.
Wow.
And yeah,
in parts of Spain.
In parts of Spain, and we know that it's kind of July and August are the hottest months there, so really, really hope they get some reprieve there.
Yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, normally you'd expect that June would be very bearable in hot countries in Europe, but it seems like even June now is going to be too hot.
Yeah, and I think there was an article on earth.org, and I think it really tied a lot of the things we've been talking about this season together. Because it said the heat wave in Europe will exacerbate drought conditions across the region. Portugal had been classified as being in severe drought since the end of May, while many parts of France have water restrictions in place, and that could affect crop production and grain yields. And then it also says, with growing demand for electricity to power air conditioners to cool down, energy prices are expected to further soar in Europe. So I think that really, they're probably two things that we've been talking about a lot this season: food supply, food security, and the price of electricity, and how it's affected and how it's connected to climate change. So unfortunately we're seeing all that, we're seeing those connections, and we're seeing that all play out at the moment. So we'll move on to our not climate story now, and I've chosen a not climate story this week as the speech that Michael D. Higgins made during the week about housing. So at the official opening of Gigginstown Manor in Naas, County Kildare, Michael D. Higgins described housing as our great, great failure, and he said it's not a crisis anymore, it's a disaster, and the basic needs of the people in the Republic, food, education and shelter, need to be met, and that these needs should never have been left to the marketplace.
He sounded angry, Darragh. When you listen to him delivering that, it's not been delivered in a sort of calm and measured way. He sounded angry and passionate.
From my point of view, he's, really passionate and just really disappointed in how aspects of the country are failing huge swathes of its citizens. That wasn't really the way it was interpreted by some ministers, though. Some very brave ministers anonymously commented on it in the Irish Independent, saying he just doesn't care anymore and he's more popular than the government, so he just does what he likes. And I just found that
he doesn't care anymore.
That's what they said, and I just found that so depressing.
He's just doing it for the Instagram likes.
Yeah.
Michael D.
But
Big
that's
on Instagram.
But that's essentially
Yeah, I know that's what they're saying.
That's essentially what that whoever that minister is saying, and for me that means that that's the way they view their career. You know, they don't actually care about the substance of the issues. They just care about the popularity and about looking good. For me, that's one of the climate angles of this story. If that's the kind of level that our ministers are operating on, caring about popularity rather, you know, and getting upset when people call out the issues rather than actually tackle the issues.
But I think they shot themselves in the foot with that response, Darragh, because you'd be hard put to find a person in the country who doesn't agree with Michael D and who wasn't clapping what he said. And I think for politicians to respond by being snarky about him saying it, as opposed to putting their hands up and acknowledging we've got a massive problem here, that won't gain them any popularity.
And to be fair, there were some government TDs who did come out and agree with Michael D and, you know, and put their hands up. So to be fair, it's not all government TDs.
Yeah, I mean, if you're more interested in should he have said it than what he said, I think that's a big issue.
Yeah,
and that's the spin. That's the spin the government has been trying to put on it to undermine him.
Yeah, but that's another climate link for me, is that, you know, should he have said it? Was he going beyond his remit? When it comes to the climate crisis, a lot of our systems, a lot of our conventions aren't fit for purpose. So we do all need to go beyond our remit, and we do all need to kind of, you know, put our heads above the parapet a bit, and push the limits of our influence, and really try our best to get action on that. So I think that was another thing for me that I really saw a parallel between the crises.
The parallel I would also take from this, the positive I would take from this, just after going through our last reel of depressing stories, is that there are people, it can be easy to become really, really not disillusioned, but feel kind of disenchanted by politicians. But that's what Michael D is. He's a politician, and he is someone who is actually doing something different, and he is showing leadership, and that should be something. I mean, that's the one little piece of hope I have to take from today's recording before you leave me crying.
No, I think that's a great point, Ciara. And our presidents have been great. Mary Robinson is a world leader on climate change and has been for probably 20 years now. So, and they are both using the position that they have and the exposure that they have to raise the issues. And great, we need more of that.
Yeah. So good job, Michael D. Good job. I'm sure that means a lot to him coming from me.
So before we finish up our news roundup, Anna, you have a little idea to close off the season.
Yeah, so I was thinking about this, and actually I was speaking to one of our loyal listeners who said they really like our news roundups because it saves them having to look at all the news. So having depressed all our listeners now, I was thinking that just to finish the season, it might be nice for us to think about what would be if we were to come back here, imagine in 5 years' time, and we have some good news to share. What are the headlines that we would like to see in 5 years' time that would share that good news? And so imagine a news roundup. We're all very happy because things are going really well. What are the headlines we could imagine? Dun, 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 dun. Do you want to go first?
I'll go first.
Go, Ciara.
So my headline is actually a bit of a human interest story, and it kind of harks back to something we've been talking about throughout this season, and something which has deeply affected me, BP. So my headline is how BP's female CEO, Anna Pringle, transformed the company. And my subheading is the Donegal native shows her predecessor what it really means to be all in, air quotes, by ceasing all investment into fossil fuel projects, redirecting the company's finance exclusively into renewable energy projects, and donating 50% of all profits to help restore biodiversity projects around the world. And I went with 50% because I'm living in a realistic world and Anna is a massive capitalist.
Okay, well, where do I apply?
Sorry, Bernard, you're out of a job. Bye.
And how do we follow that one? Jesus.
Well, I have one from, we put this into our podcast WhatsApp group, and Rob, or sound engineer, producer, or composer, Rob said, new low carbon agricultural policy helps bolster local economy. And I really liked that, because that's something that I would love to see happen, is that if we put the money into green agriculture, there will be way more jobs in rural Ireland, and it could have amazing knock-on impacts. So thanks, Rob, for that one.
Good job, Rob.
When I was thinking about this, Anna, I actually was reminded of the last podcast series I did, the COVID alarm clock, where we looked at the parallels between COVID and climate change. And we rewrote Leo Varadkar's speech that he gave when they were first announcing COVID restrictions. We rewrote it as if it was about climate change. So that is still what I would love to see. Government announces emergency climate measures. It's that simple. That they start treating it like an emergency. That's what I want to see. I think it's what we need to see.
Excellent. So my one is, it's 5 years' time. The IPCC has just released its 7th assessment report. It is 7th, right? Its 7th assessment report. And Antonio Guterres takes to the stage to make a speech and announces that emissions are falling. Renewable energy has taken over from fossil fuels. And Antonio Guterres says it's no longer code red for humanity. We are making progress. We're on track for net zero, and things are starting to improve all around the world as a result.
Go, Antonio Guterres.
Yeah, we're not asking for much, but those would be good headlines.
I'm going to help him work on his presentation of that, because I sometimes find his delivery a bit lackluster. I'm like, come on, bit of pizzazz, Antonio.
Very good.
Clearly you have a future in writing headlines, Ciara. No doubt about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great stuff, Anna. That was a brilliant idea. Thank you. Hopefully our listeners got that.
Yeah, thanks, Anna.
And
it made me feel better.
If you would like to get involved in the conversation, do post the headlines that you would like to see on our socials. So leave us a little comment with the headlines you'd like to see on Twitter at The Climate Alarm, and on Instagram and Facebook at Climate Alarm Clock. That is it for our news roundup for this episode and for the season. Anna and Ciara, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure doing this with you this season.
Thank you, Darragh.
Thanks,
and
Darragh.
Anna also.
Still to come, we chat to Dr. Elaine McGough about Antashka. We learn about greenwashing from Tom Spencer. Anna finds out about Not Here, Not Anywhere's campaign to keep Ireland LNG free. But coming up next is the Irish Enviro Event Guide.